in the row in the semifinals, goes to all 5 games, but if you follow that script, it's a reverse sweep and SKT take it down. KT on the blue side have been staunchly banning Cassio, Lucian, X. Been largely support picks, but also junglers as well. See what happens here in Game 5, because if you got something special, this is the time to show it.
Yeah. Well, Galio going to be banned away here by SKT. Do we see the Shen again is my question, or do they leave that one up for Smeb if he wants it? Gragas is going to be back on the ban list.
So here's my thought. If you're KT Rolster, you ban away something like the Gragas, an impact pick from SKT. You give up Lucian. You can first pick it if the scrim results have been there. You give it up if you need to, and Pawn can run Victor into it. Victor is a farm lane against Lucian that doesn't have pressure early, so they'll have to make adjustments elsewhere. But Pawn is a very experienced Victor player, so if so far cemented that their draft will be different, you can just ban Lucian, but it feels like Corki has been the ultimate answer for SKT. And they'll ban the Tristana. That has also been a really big pick for Bang in the bot lane. So they're going to change things. They will not be banning the Lucian. Maybe the Victor will be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing this in just about every single game. Yeah, every single game this series so far. Bang has been relying on that Tristana. So something like the Lucian is still available, as is the Elise at the moment. Final ban here for SKT as the clock runs down. Expecting to see the Zac, but perhaps they leave it up, and they actually will, as LeBlanc is going to be banned again.
See, LeBlanc can lane against Lucian quite well, so they're taking that away, not allowing it to come in. So the mid lane, once again, you'd have to think advantage Faker when it comes to pressure picks, especially unless Pawn is cooking up something special like the Gangplank from Game 2. It's going to go back to the Zac, so that's going to be a win from KT's side if it works out, but SKT have a lot of champions available. Caitlyn is available with Tristana and Kalista off the board. We'll see where Bang wants to go with AD carry. Xayah's another one. Could be the Lovers bot lane. Quietly, Bang is 5-0 on Xayah, but hasn't prioritized it recently.
Yeah, but it looks like we might get it. They do show the hover. We already saw how well Wolf was playing with the Rakan, so they'll just go ahead and lock it up.
And it loses to Tristana and Kalista pretty commonly. So they go for the Xayah in this scenario. I like to see it again. It's been a long time since he's played Xayah, even if it was undefeated. Didn't play it in the losing streak, so hasn't actually played it since before then. So long time since the Xayah's come in, as KT says, well, all right, I'm not going to play 5 games of Thresh, apparently, is the thought process here for Mata. His Thunder Cow, the surprise double lift famously in the RNG versus TSM series last year. Probably won't be the Thunderlords, but the Alistar, that part will come through.
Yep, goes ahead, snatches that one up here for himself. Now do we see the ADC duo for that bottom lane? You'd expect to see it come out before they go ahead and get the bans in, but maybe it's just the Lucian takeaway for the mid lane.
Lucian wins a lot of common mid lane matchups, and you never really want to give it to Faker. So it seems like it will be the takeaway here. No, they're just going to offer it up as tribute, almost saying, hey, we didn't draft this, and go for the Shen that was pretty permanently banned for SKT early.
So perhaps they have something planned to run into that Lucian. Maybe it is the Victor like you were talking about, Papa Smith here. Maybe they've cooked up something else. Only time will tell as we get the final pick here for SKT with Shen locked down here for Smeb.
If you ban something like Lucian Victor here, and KT will be forced into some awkward spots. And yeah, they do respect the potential for Pawn to play the Lucian against the Corki.
All right, do take that one off the board. And maybe can focus out one of the remaining ADCs if they want to try to cripple depth a little bit. Caitlyn is still on the board.
Problem with the Alistar is that without the Kalista to make him the god of initiation, without Caitlyn to just win every 2v2, he's pretty weak in early laning phase, short of a gimmicky gank coming through from the Zac. So what they pair with the Alistar is kind of up in the air for the side of KT Rolster. I guess it could be the Ashe that they've moved away from so many times, but then we'd wonder if there'd be damage concerns. And they also, SKT, subscribe to perhaps it's time for Ashe to come through. They ban it away. A bit of a wry smile from Def on your screen, basically saying, hey, go for the Caitlyn. Didn't work out for you in the previous game. We're happy for you to take it again.
Maybe he'll just get us something that we weren't anticipating at all. Is it time for the Jinx?
I was just about to say it, because the moment you thought it, I had the same flashbulb. It could peel back with Jinx and try to make things work. That would be Teamfight, and Teamfight may be behooved if it is going to be a Trundle being run into the Shen.
That's been banned out in a lot of these games, but maybe we will. Yep, there we go. Trundle will be the lock-in. So last pick for the jungle for the side of SK Telecom.
To KT's pick, Ezreal saw a small buff on this patch. Korea, favorite champion for Deft. But I don't think we're going to be seeing that. It has to be something with massive damage. This would be the pick to play with the hearts. The Jinx certainly be all in, though. And they're going to go for the Sivir. Right. I hear you gasp, but remember, when they ran the Sivir before, it was in a pick comp. But Sivir doesn't really help pick comps. Sivir helps a comp like this a lot because it's triple tanks locked in the Zac, Alistar, and Shen. And last pick is going to be the Kassadin.
Okay.
Risky stuff here from the side of KT Rolster. The Kassadin Gambit in Game 1 did not work for SKT. It is a good laning matchup into the Corki. No sign of Victor because the Lucian wasn't there. Okay, this is what we end up with. This is the final pick and ban screen for the Telecom War semi-final, Champion Summer 2017. Lovers bot lane, first sighting of the Xayah in a long while. Put that Zac away, put it in the jungle, please. KT Rolster. KT have some very strong split push with the Kassadin. They will try to piggyback with the Shen and Kassadin. But the Kassadin Gambit didn't work for SKT. And now it's Pawn drafting into a tough lane. You can farm it, but there's going to be certainly plenty of attention from SKT.
And given how things went in the previous game, him getting Flame Horizoned almost twice over by Faker on this Corki, gotta have some concerns as a KT fan coming into this one. Pawn needs to have a career performance on this cast.
Look, it's just like Kassadin to LeBlanc, which is what Faker tried in Game 1. You Q, you win the trades. It's a good matchup for Kassadin. But the other side is ranged auto attack, pushing ability versus the Kassadin needing the time. And SKT have been active in the mid game and keeping games short when they win. It's going to need to be longer for KT Rolster, I'd have to think.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 5, KT versus SK Telecom. Winner goes on to face Longzhu in the grand final a week from today and also punches their ticket to the World Championship. Everything is on the line. It all culminates into this moment. Let's see who's going to come out on top. KT fans louder than ever, but SK Telecom still has them beat in the audience. But they're not worried about that. They're worried about beating them here on the Rift. Last chance to do so until perhaps the World's Qualifier.
Mod is using SKT Alistar against Wolf.
Well, we saw the SKT Renekton in the last game as well.
A little bit of mind games there. I think that drew me to Korean League of Legends when I started my fandom was their appreciation of the history. These orgs go beyond League of Legends, all the way back to the StarCraft days. And this rivalry goes back so many years. The match I'm talking about that so many people have seen highlights of, how many of the 100,000 people watching on Twitch now were there 4 years ago to watch Faker and Ryu battle? Faker and Score are still there 4 years later battling. Score in a new position, no longer the immortal Score of the AD carry position, now a jungler, one of the best in the world. Faker, he didn't need to move. He still is the immovable god of the mid lane. The history between these teams is so rich, but so often it is red. SKT the victor, KT Rolster suffering. Speaking of SKT, going for an invade on the blue here. Not spotted out. Smeb will get some information now.
Yep, gonna be walking in as Tara says hello. A nice little smack with the club. The blue buff will be going over to Blank. Now can just rotate straight over to the red side. Is warded, so they'll spot him. They'll be able to track the Jarvan. But he'll have a nice little start. We'll see how Score is going to approach this, whether or not he's going to have an invade of his own.
Zac obviously not going to be blue buff focused, and there's a lot of catch-up experience in the jungle, but another way to know that the Jarvan jungle is going to have free gank priority while Zac slowly puts together CS is just fine. On the side of SKT, we don't see a level 2 gank attempted this time by SKT's jungle Jarvan.
Well, Tara pushing forward, really chunking out. Smeb had that level 2 early.
Yeah, one creep shot, couldn't put down the dodge field and dodge out 3 of those autos. Takes us to use the potion in this case, and Blank's actually invading onto the
flag and drag hit. He's just going to get the pop up. Smite comes through there from Score, trying to stay alive. Will go dangerously low, but with Pawn in the vicinity, they're not going to be able to pop that passive, but still threatening to force the Zac out of the jungle very early. Good aggression to see from Blank.
Zac was able to push in the lane as Sivir, so got a deep ward into the blue buff. Was spotted probably on his route though, so they do know the blue buff is not the camp currently being started by Jarvan, who Blank's doing his best job to remove camps from the enemy and stop there being free farm for Score, who already has shown in his 3 games of Zac that he's not interested in going for the early game. The snowballed Peanuts game on Zac between these two teams a few weeks ago. Peanuts subbed out after game 2. We should once again, because I'm sure we have plenty of viewers joining late, explain what happens when it comes to this tournament. Very clear, the winner of this game goes to the final against Longzhu, but Worlds implications are a bigger story. If either telecom team goes, well, whichever team wins here, they're already qualified for Worlds. They will at minimum have second spot, which is for the most circuit points, but they also end up cheering on the other telecom war in the final. If KT lose this match, they will want SKT to beat Longzhu, because then they will go through on circuit points. As smart as mid lane won't find anything. So basically Longzhu losing means that both these teams will go to Worlds guaranteed. No qualifier necessary.
Yep. Which means that Longzhu would have to rebattle their way through the World Qualifier later.
It's already been booked.
The likes of the Afrika Freaks and MVP.
And the first rounds have already been booked.
And
first
Samsung.
best of 5 to start it off will be Afrika versus MVP. 2 days later, it will be the winner versus Samsung, and then we will soon find out. We'll be at the top of that gauntlet. Didn't help out KT Rolster last year. They went on to lose to Samsung and famously not make it to Worlds.
And one of the first times that Samsung had beaten KT in forever.
There was that massive game streak that you mentioned, Achilles.
18-0 or something like that. Maybe 21, I think it might have hit at one point. I forget exactly how high it went, how high it was.
It was basically every game between those two teams from the start of spring 2015 to postseason 2016 summer. So a lot of games in a row. It was at least 17. But like you say, I forget the exact number. Predictably, mid lane. One getting pushed in. The shift of more magic damage onto the Corki autos makes him potent against basically every laner except Kassadin, who actually prefers it this way. More value out of the Q-Max with Deathfire Touch, giving him a little bit of lane presence. He's teleporting back in at the same time as the gank comes in. He's only level 3, though.
Faker doesn't really have any mana. Has to flash away. Will actually get out with his life.
One extra point, one extra camp there, and that could have been a successful gank to the side of Score. Level 3, the first level Elastic Slingshot, is pretty short range, so that's something that Blank has done. It's why Blank has a 2-level advantage. But Blank shutting down the free camps for Score stopped there being realistic kill pressure from Score.
Well, we know that the Zac is one of Blank's favorite heroes in the game. So he knows the ins and outs. He knows how to punish it well. So these invades have been working out in favor of SK Telecom so far.
Notable that Score was never going to be using SKT Zac, of course. He is the pride of KT Rolster, been there since the start.
Wouldn't dare be calling that.
Nope.
As Wolf misses the knock-up, Bang is firing back a pretty decent amount of damage there. On to the likes of Mata. That Boomerang Blade also is pretty deadly, so Bang is going to have to play this one out a bit more carefully. Just has the Doran shield and the heal, but would rather hold on to that for a while.
First time we're seeing this matchup in Korea, the Sivir against the Xayah. If it didn't work out earlier, but as I mentioned, it was in a pick comp, and Sivir in a pick comp doesn't have the same value as helping Shen. Close distance with move speed. The more tanks, the better when you're running Sivir. Well, actually, it was the cornerstone of many 2015 comps in the last Maokai meta. Trade's getting better. Pawns hit level 6 without dying, so suddenly Kassadin is able to take trades, if not get a push advantage against the Corki, but all this at the cost of Blank getting the free invade.
Yeah. This is yet again Faker going over for the Sheen immediately, not for the Hex Drinker. We'll see if that's going to be his next item, or if he just wants to go ahead and dump all of his gold straight into the Trinity Force. Now though, with Tara, just going to go ahead and proxy the wave. And he has that Tiamat, so clean these up very swiftly.
This map would love an answering Tiamat, but after he lost those early trades, felt pressured enough to go Ninja Tabi into the extra bit of HP. Long way away from having any counter push, and that will allow Chundle to go for a merry journey. Joining in the group. Yeah, they're joining in on the...
He doesn't have smite. He's just going to chomp it away. Oh, this is This is just bullying at this point.
It's a team-wide plan to slow down scores leveling, and a successful one, like you mentioned, Achilles. Scores mentality a bit more reliable than someone like Smeb, and especially like Pawn. So when it comes to people being held down, perhaps KT will have to accept that Pawn is at least in the conversation still. 10 CS behind Corki.
Rough stuff here for Score. We'll see if he's able to bounce back.
Looking for a gank. Control ward in the brush. Only level 5. Another gank where perhaps it would have been successful if he was 6. Walks up and is tagged by the Q from the Rakan.
Still don't know whether or not it was Mata. The slingshot coming through. Very nicely done there on the Featherstorm. Bang will be able to jump away.
And Wolf has 800 dashes, so they won't be thinking too much will come out of the Q. Back away. Score doesn't find level 6 still, being heavily delayed on that. Level 7 now for Blank.
Yeah.
Flake is opening himself up for a auto-attack Riftwalk trade that he knows will lead to an instant kill from the level 7 Jarvan, but not taking the bait so far is Kassadin.
Well, I'm just looking to play safe, so going to be the measured approach, and will work out as far as elongating his lifespan. In the meantime, Mata pushing forward. Trying to get some damage down, but the kite ability here of this Xayah and this Rakan is just a bit too much. Heal was burned by Bang, however.
CS advantage this time for Death, so that part at least will feel good. Power Trough will happen when you're Sivir. You have to go for Essence Reaver to help with your mana management. Infinity Edge probably going to follow, but found an early shot to...
Oh, looking for the jump in. They get the pop-up, and Blank comes over the wall. First blood. This goes right over to Bang in an instant.
Yeah, able to flash in as well. Level 8 Jarvan, so much extra burst. Flash wasn't going to get him out. First blood of the game goes to SK Telecom in Game 5. Nothing Mata could do.
No, not a damn thing. And now the Ocean Drake going to be started up here by Blank. Get that ball rolling very quickly. And just like that, the gold has exploded forward for SK Telecom.
Such a fast gank as well that Smeb couldn't even be there. With the ultimate, probably still would have died anyway, but I imagine he wouldn't have had the reaction time to be able to answer so much immediate burst. And like you say, Ocean Drake does go the way of SK Telecom.
Move up, hand it off to Faker, and the buys starting to come through here. Bang going to be coming back into lane. Has that BF sword, Vision 3 is completed. Def's still going to be waiting on that call to get stacked up fully.
Might be. Even Infinity Edge could just pile on attack damage and then turn it into Essence Reaver. That's not an uncommon thing to do, but imagine he's still going for the 2-item spike that the colors intended to bridge, getting that immediate gold race. And he got it early enough that he was able to stack it probably in the first 15 minutes.
He went for the Essence Reaver in game number 3, so maybe he wants to revisit that, but Infinity Edge would be a different path here for him, as Faker is very far forward. Slingshot getting ready to come through. Tries to get the Valkyrie off, but he'll get locked down and he'll get taken out as Pawn comes up with the kill. So a bit too far forward there by Faker. Doesn't use the flash, so a bit greedy on him to try the Valk.
Doesn't use the flash, doesn't use the heal. The 1 second indicator is there. Faker could have used tools, perhaps thought with answering summoners available to KT that he'd be dead anyway. KT will certainly accept it being just a 2-kill game and 1 each. Kill credit going over to the side of Pawn is ideal. And look at Blank doing the team thing, pulling the minions so that it ensures that Faker gets a decent chance to pick them all up. Will be coming in a second.
Just going to take a little hop over into that Raptor pit where he is completely spotted out. SKT been maintaining a vision around this bottom side of the jungle quite well. And, yep, Faker will go ahead and be able to pick up the majority of this wave.
11-minute Rod of Ages comes through for the side of Pawn, so definitely ahead in terms of timers. Faker continues to disregard items like Hex Drinker. Goes straight for the Sorcerer's Shoes, looking for a gank of his own, I guess, rather than sustaining through what at times can be some hard trades to deal with.
Just Faker things.
I mean, this lane does suck at this point. Because Pawn hasn't been set behind, you basically throw a Q out and not really much for Faker to do.
Well, he's at least farming it up in 20 CS, but that's to be expected given the melee aspect of the Kassadin. The Null Sphere is only going to do so much, but we'll go ahead and see, I believe, the 3rd straight blue buff to be taken away by SK Telecom. Oh, Slight miscalculation. 1 HP. There you go, Faker. Gets it in the end.
It's been lane presence from Pawn, but no blue buffs, like you say, so has to be a bit more judicious, and that means there's been no ability to close the CS gap. You can actually go pretty competitive if you're picking up blue buffs off spawn as the Kassadin. Not to be in this game. Still, doesn't feel like SKT are going to roll KT like they were able to in Game 3 and Game 4.
Faker starting up the Rift Herald here.
Alone.
Yeah.
Jarvan's not interested.
Blank's going back to base. Maybe some miscommunication. Faker's like, all right, screw it.
2 shops come in from Sivir before he's able to finish off the first item and the cull completion. Interesting in Ninja Tabi. One of the early claims. Flat attack damage does give the Ricochet and Boomerang Blade enough AD to be able to clear out waves. Respecting the Xayah all-in and I guess the Corki damage to some extent, Jarvan and Trundle on the physical side of things. I think they know scores here.
It's a very aggressive push forward here to get the pop-up in on to score. Overrise comes down, but the passive will still get popped. Now Blank over the wall, finds the Cataclysm, and Pawn has to flash to safety. TP to try to delay here. Smeb looks to come through, or rather it was Pawns here.
Let's go get out! He
Blank,
does!
A couple more shots coming through, could take him down. Mata with a headbutt, not going to be able to get the kill, but Score does live in the end.
He had the passive proc up, and he also specifically had the Courage of the Colossus up, so lives after all of that. It wasn't Smeb's teleport, that was down. Stan United already gone through, but they keep Zac alive, and that could have been a kill to really be the icing on the cake for the early game for SKT.
Yeah, nicely done there by Pawn at first. I thought that it was Smeb trying to join in, but it would have been a pretty fruitless attempt given that Tara can just block that with a pillar very instantly. So good reaction by Pawn there, getting himself out to safety and then worrying about the safety of his teammate.
Does the team thing, does Pawn. The Courage proc at the perfect time as well. Just gets out. Does Score to die another day potentially.
I hope we're not starting up James Bond references
It's
again.
not the time or place because Game 5, everything on the line. It's a slip of the tongue from me, but no death to pile things on for the side of SKT. KT having a better laning phase with the Sivir, more reason to run the Sivir with their high tank comp. The only bad news story is the top lane where Ontara's had his way. He's proxied, but the proxy has only really led to blue buff steals and 14 CS. Crucially, it hasn't led to a pre-10-minute turret. Smeb keeping his turret up 15 minutes is no guarantee against the Trundle, but he's been able to do it thus far.
1,000 gold separating at the moment here, 15.5 minutes in. Probably the closest game that we've had so far in this series. 20-minute mark has been where things get explosive, so still is a chance that that happens. But for now, it'll be neither team with any real advantages, no turrets having gone down, and just the Ocean Drake here for SK Telecom. Things going to be kept very close, very tight-knit. Another dragon spawning in 10 seconds. SK Telecom might just be looking to add that onto their list of things to do. So they at least have some insurance for an Elder Drake.
A little bit of a surprise to see Ontara go Ravenous Hydra. Used to be very common on Trundle, but because he has to straddle the line with double teleport users and Pawn coming in with a very early Rod of Ages, being able to go for an incremental power build, he's very, very squishy and can be taken out. And if they ever have kill pressure on Kassadin side lane against a Trundle, KT will have complete run of the map with 2 teleports and the Stan United as well. SKT able to pick up the second Drake, but KT will be relieved to see it's just 2 Oceans to open up the game. Not irrelevant as bot lane.
Yeah, but pulverized, but like you said, Wolf has 800 dashes, so he's going to be quite all right. They get a decent amount of damage down onto that turret in the meantime, however.
I like to think of Infinity Edge versus Sivir as the RNG build because you auto-attack and then you cancel your auto. And if both crit, happy days, you won the lane. So he doesn't have the consistent damage, but already has wave clear. Most carries have to build Shiv early to have anywhere near the wave clear Sivir does is in the mid lane.
And Blank not going to land that flag and drag. Has the Cataclysm, but hasn't thrown it out yet. In the meantime, Pawn just duking it out with Faker on the top side and Score. No passive anymore. Will get taken down. Faker looking for the kill onto the Kassadin. Goes over the wall, but the flash comes through. The final rocket will finish him off. Mata dying as well, and now Depth is left stranded all on his lonesome. 4 kills about to come through for SK Telecom in game number 5. He'll pop the heal to desperately try to get away. Has the flash, but it seems like he suspects that he would have died anyway. Does go down. Meanwhile, up top, Smeb trying desperately to trade something back. It's a manaless Trundle, but Undara will still walk away.
And that's after Trundle took down the turret and all of that pandemonium, Achilles. They did not respect the ability for Wolf to rotate cleanly in. 3 kills go over to Xayah, going for a Essence Reaver of her own, of course. They'll take a turret bot lane, and I think we may just have witnessed the passage of play.
Oh, can he get it? Not quite.
That may guarantee SK Telecom their route to the finals, because they just blew open the game.
3 turrets gone. 4 kills over to SK Telecom off the back of another Ocean Drake. They have complete run of the map. KT, moving forward from here, what do you even do? What are you even thinking in the booth to try to get yourselves back into this game?
I mean, I want to go early. I want to know what they were thinking when they could have tried to make the evacuation. Watch this play. Is okay, there's going to be the first round from Rakan. That's guaranteed. Why is Score playing around? He has flash up. I'm not sure about his other cooldowns, but he could have gotten out. The end of this passage of play is just going to be a complete cleanup. KT thought they were stronger than they were against Essence Reaver Xayah, but Xayah has the Rakan. She's been able to already put together the Essence Reaver. Everyone is cleaned up on the side of KT. And while Smeb doesn't get solo killed on the top side, he does have his turret taken down. So the gold lead balloons in an instant. And SK Telecom, suddenly the map is completely theirs.
Yep, and they are further demonstrating that by taking out the Rift Herald. Tara, all on his lonesome, will be joined by Faker. And you can see even against that Alistar, Faker, those auto attacks, they're doing so much damage. Bang will just go ahead, solo down that Rift Herald, pick up the buff, and he can use that to push pretty much anywhere on the map. Likely going to be the top or the mid side. So they can try to open things up a little bit more, make that Baron even safer.
KT one more catastrophic misplay away from confirming the reverse sweep for the side of SKT. It's not over yet. They do have power being put together on items like Rod of Ages. Sivir getting closer and closer to 3 items, and their team fight can be powerful. But the immediate gold is there, and here's the attempt.
The wall coming through. Wolf looking for the engage. Mata trying to turn things around, but I don't think they can really afford to. Smeb arrives off the backside of the stand united.
Meanwhile, Bang is just going to truck down the turret with Rift Herald as well. KT needs to get a lot of kills.
I mean, they need to get back to the base. SK Telecom can just try to delay as best as possible. Score still pushing forward. Recall's being channeled by Depth and Mata. The charge is going to come down. And it's going to be a hell of a lot of damage, maybe even just a turret here, depending on how long Bang wants to stick around. He's got that Featherstorm, and yeah, there you go. Final hit will come through, and it's an inhibitor exposed at 20 minutes.
Insanely early. Now, Shen is one of the best champions with his teleport available, with Stan United and a Titanic Hydra to allow himself to be anchored off the map. But SKT, with all the information the minions are granting, try to rush straight on the Baron.
Maybe they're trying to bait this one out, throw the ward down over the wall, but it will be spotted. Scrying Orb into the back of the pit. Don't spot the Baron being taken.
Crucial one there was what forced SKT to pull off. Not able to complete a Baron buff. That would have been another dagger in the heart of KT Rolster fans.
I mean, that would have been the nail in the coffin.
I mean, the nail in the coffin is if they somehow find a way to lose to Longzhu, and then that would be a next level BM from SK Telecom, who already have so often held the head-to-head against KT. We're back to picking up farm. Alistar the only one right now who can try to put down the wards around this Baron. Like you say, engineering a Baron is probably the end of the story for KT Rolster. Right now, all they really want is to find farm. They were denied farm so expertly by SKT in Game 4, where Talia fell hopelessly behind. That could still happen in this game, even if for now, things are a little bit more competitive.
Faker just fearlessly bringing up the bottom wave here, looking for another inner turret. Do a hell of a lot of damage here.
Smeb's even scared to go for taunts under turret, knowing that he'll get at most 1 turret shot before the Valkyrie will go through, and not knowing what's happening in his red side jungle.
Exactly.
He can't even go for taunts, and that means more free damage for Corki on that turret.
There's no vision for him at all.
And United still not available for Smeb, but he does have his teleport. The teleport ward's starting to dwindle.
Good sweep coming through here from SK Telecom, pushing in. We'll be clearing out the jungle of both wards and camps. Still haven't gotten rid of the ward there on the Baron, though. But for now, they say screw it. Let's just pick up the Mountain Drake, and then when we go back to Baron, it's that much easier.
has his flash up, not teleport yet, but feels good enough to push out further than you think. Pick up another minion wave as Mata has to ult, he's probably still dead.
I mean, has to flash away as well just to really make sure that he can get out of there. Will be slowed up. Blank not looking to dive the turret alone, so Mata will be able to escape with his life, but that's Unbreakable Will and the flash down.
Another person who now can't face check objectives, so Mountain Drake easy. Baron buff safer with no flash, and for at least the next 60 seconds or so, no Unbreakable Will. KT can only pick up farm that's pushed to them by SKT, which means that SKT run the show. Every part of the hype train for SKT is running as intended. KT can't even get on the station platform, Achilles.
Cannot. Blank just gonna finish this one off. So the members can go back by spend the gold that they have accrued from just eating these waves, as they're about 8,000 in the lead at the moment. And then they can get prepped for that Baron.
To me, the most amazing thing about this series is we see a particle fly very slowly over the way to Faker. We're going to see it here. Come on, OGN, show it to us. Yeah, there it is. But the most amazing thing about this series is that think about what SKT was staunchly banning. Rakan and the Trundle. They've actually wielded them surprisingly well in this series, even though they were banned in previous games. As Tara's going to get closed down by the entire team.
Looking for this one. Stand United coming through, and Tara does not have the flash. And seems like he might just be dead. Wolf looking for some sort of avenue of approach where he can try to save his life, but it's just not realistic. Faker, in the meantime, he just wants the blue buff. We'll find it. So we do have On the Hunt get popped, Bang going up into the air with a Featherstorm as Blank gets jumped on.
Okay.
Gets absolutely melted, but he still stays alive.
But free hitting
will claim the life of Wolf. Now the flashing coming through,
Deft
trying to keep them alive. Pulverize in onto Faker. He goes low. Deft draws him back, but doesn't have the damage to keep himself in the fight. Deft comes up with another one. Blank will be sent limping back, but KT now, after coming up with 4 kills, will be looking to take this Baron.
You let Infinity Edge Deft free hit, this is what happens, but still, it's going to be difficult for KT to guarantee that someone needs to deal with Blank. Doesn't have flash, but he has a blast cone. With a will, there's a way, and Mata doesn't have the health bar to really stop him.
Still looking for TP now coming through. Zentara has respawned down to about 2,800. He's going to get headbutted away. Mata takes the blast cone into the pit.
Blank.
They do not have it. Blank finds 1 kill, but that's going to be the Smite coming through from Score to go ahead and pick up the Baron. But can they make it out with any of the buffs? Deft so very low, no flash, no mana, will be beaten down by Untara. Now it's just 3 members making their way back into the base. Seems like they will be safe, will be able to hold on to these Baron buffs. So KT get a second lease on life, but they need to make the most of this if they want to get themselves back into the game.
I mean, things went way better than expected for KT Rolster. Infinity Edge Sivir was able to free hit, was full mana, so was actually able to pump out the most damage. The Ricochet started critting, the damage started to register, and Def ripped through the fairly squishy members of SKT as things stood. They didn't have Untara there to pile up the damage onto Untara. He's completely alone, taken down by multiple members. You think, okay, Trundle's dead, not the biggest deal. They'll be able to get some Baron vision from this, never mind. Mata is on one end of the fight, and Faker is overextending, trying to take a blue buff of all things. This is against Shen. Smeb also on this initiation works a treat. Very nice use of the stretching strike. And at the end of the day, Deft cannot be allowed to free hit. When the critical strikes register, they're not super tanks or SKT. The team fight turns around, and KT have a new lease on life for the first time in 3 games.
They still need a lot more than this. We'll see how much they can get done with this Baron buff. So far, it's only been the 1 turret that they've been able to take, so there's still a lot of standing gold on the map.
But Achilles, consider the fact that the objective that SKT can't take anymore with all their map control is Baron. Baron is off the map, and for KT to have that buff and deny the gold and what should have been basically a free Baron from SKT, that's big enough even if they can't get a huge Baron buff power play.
So have to be careful though. You see how much damage is still coming out of the members of SKT here.
I want you to notice that Deft bought an entire rapid fire cannon from a single fire.
Pretty good to me. Blank looking for the knock up there on the pawn. Still pretty elusive with the Cassidon.
Now, actually gets the stun.
Back. Yeah, Def gonna go low. Has that Stand United coming through to try to keep him alive, but it's not gonna be enough. Faker comes up with the kill. Cataclysm down, but they just have to jump right out of that 1 pawn. With a rip walk, takes himself out to safety. Mata falls, and just like that, KT get undone yet again. SK Telecom Going to be pushing against the Baron-empowered minions, but this should be a fairly easy task with the bottom lane gone.
Death giveth, death taketh away. Got the free hits on the previous fight, and this one got baited into running straight at Bang and got caught by the Blade Call. The one ability he could not be called for. They will lose their inhibitor for free, KT Rolster, and they are one team fight away from losing the game.
SKT not looking to overstay. They don't have too much time on these death timers. It's still only 28 minutes into the game, so they don't stick around for that second inhibitor. They will just go ahead and peel back.
And the minion waves are in a very poor spot for SKT, so it is the controlled play to pull away in that spot. We're not going to get a replay just yet of the play from Deft. I understand what he was thinking. Xayah does not have an escape ability apart from the ultimate to reset aggro for a moment, rush straight at a killer. But in all of the pandemonium when people turned on, here is the replay. The first thought, fine, get Mata in there, kill the Xayah, but he gets hit by the Blade Core. He's not watching the flowers on the final, the petals, sorry, in the final game of a best of 5, an elimination best of 5, and he needed to have the spell shield on hand there. Didn't. Both of the bot lane duo are trained down, and that was an arrest in the momentum that KT Rolster was only just able to piece together.
10-5, things still tense. The audience is absolutely silent at the moment as they wait for the next piece of action to unfold. KT still nearly 9,000 gold down. Need a massive turnaround, another steal to try to get themselves into the game. Infernal Drake, first of this one, going to be spawning up in 12 seconds. But SK Telecom should have priority over that section of the map and should be able to take it, adding a 4th buff to their potential Elder Dragon later on.
Recreating the scenario that led to KT's re-entrance into this game is going to be so difficult because they piled onto a Trundle. SKT weren't taking anything else across the map, and then SKT took a fight 4v5. They will not make a mistake that big again, as Score is trying to answer here.
He's able to find it, but is that going to be enough? Bang goes up with the Featherstorm, pulls out the Blade Caller to try to keep himself alive. Is in the back line. He's firing away onto the front line members here of KT, and it's going to be Smet, but the first one to fall is going to be Wolf. A lot of field going away. Pawn has to jump out with the Rip Walk to try to keep himself alive, but in the meantime, Smet has gone down. And now just trying to be full retreat here for the side of KT, but it just does not seem likely. Score has fallen. 2 members already picked up. Mata going down as well. That's 3 dead. Deft and Pawn going to be the only 2 remaining ones to try to defend the base with an open inhibitor in the top lane.
And another fight where Deft was free hitting, but that time Achilleos Untar was able to steal the stats out of the front line. There was no front line for the Sivir to fight around and eventually couldn't do the damage. And SKT, with the death timers around 20 seconds, they're going to see if they can end the game here or at least take a couple of turrets.
See, they got the one super creep here pushing in. Blank going forward, looking for Deft as he tries to fire away to clear out the minions. Pawn having to retreat, jumps back. Spike goes forward. Can they trade out a kill? Yes, they can. Pawn comes up with that one. Now looking for his second as Untara goes low, but he's out of mana. Has the blue, but it's not regenerating fast enough. Deft pushing forward. He's all on his lonesome. Has the crit, takes down Bang, but he also dies.
The 1-for-1 there is okay, I guess, at maximum. They're going to try to get more as there's mana coming in. It's actually Shen coming in, not the Kassadin on this teleport.
Looking for something, looking for Untara perhaps. Will spot him out, but too many other members in the vicinity will have to go ahead and peel back.
A bit bizarre there. There was a big minion wave pushing in bot side, but it wasn't actually free hitting onto the turret. So they don't even get a turret for that. Not sure exactly what Shen was trying to make for it. Actually picking up the kill on Bang makes it a 1-for-1, which is okay. The respawns were at the right time where they didn't need Sivir to be able to clear out the super minion, so it's okay. But another time where the Blade Caller timing seems to be undoing Deft a little bit. Not getting exactly the same short purchase out of that ability that he'd want to when they locked in the Sivir. Deft does have a CS advantage over Bang. He does have a nice load of items. His problem in fights is going to be that if Trundle is present, he will just steal the stats of the front line, and soon Deft will be zoned out of combat.
Baron spawning now in 10 seconds. SKT getting the Scuttle Crab. Going to be pushing in, looking to clear out any vision that KT has in the area, but little do they know, there is pretty much none available on this upper side of the river.
Trying to think about what the correct play is for KT Rolster in team fights. This far behind in gold with the Kassadin. They'd love to pop anyone, but the people they have access to are so damn tanky and elusive. The Jarvan and the Trundle, especially if your best thought is killing a Rakan, you're also going to have a super bad time. getting a couple of ricochet crits onto the backline, finding a way for Deft to actually be able to fight with his tank lines like famously Sivir and the height of the meta was able to do is difficult because she doesn't really have a tank line. She has people that are turned into meat shields by the subjugate ability from Ontara. They're not as sturdy as they need to be. KT got the first Baron. SKT is all the way on top of the second one. It's so fast.
Yeah, and they're just going to burn right through this one with relative ease. And now KT, yet again, have to be the ones that try to escape. Pillar's already been thrown down as Mana dives into the back line. Look at the pulverize there on a bang. Finds it, but there's no follow-up. Goes back in, has to flash away, and Score is just getting ripped apart by Faker and company. Smeb with the dodge field buys a little bit of time for himself, but has to use a Shadow Dash, get himself away, and SKT have gone ahead, pushed KT back.
It's a two-threat comp, and Pawn couldn't enter the fight, therefore they did not have anywhere near the damage they needed. And able to take someone down. Everyone looked undying on the side of SKT in that particular fight. To KT's credit, at least they're able to reset and start again. The only Drake they picked up this game was an Infernal, which will serve them if the game goes long enough. The gold lead of 10,000 is still significant. We are not late enough in the game for that gold lead to be rewritten. But items are starting to come together for KT, and if they can somehow get a pick, so hard to do. Why would SKT ever split their forces? But if they can somehow kill one person and allow Deft to free hit, maybe the magic could happen again.
They desperately need it. Otherwise, SK Telecom is potentially minutes away from completing the reverse sweep here in the semifinal. We'll go ahead, knock down another outer turret, last one outside the base. And now they're going to be looking for those inhibitors. Just one inhib turret remaining. The other two are naked, but have respawned, have not been taken, so there's no threat of super creeps at the moment. But look at the damage onto the turret. Faker is fearlessly pushing forward, takes that one down.
They're looking in flanking positions, but they need to basically one-shot Faker. And it's going to be very, very difficult to do. They turn on to the Zac.
Yeah. Flag and drag forward. Flank takes quite a bit of damage here. The crit's coming through from Deft. Does chunk him down a bit. He's still going to be okay for the most part as he goes over.
Double Ocean, remember, also.
Yeah, plus the smite on the Crux.
Getting 22 health a second. Able to come back in. Blank is initiation and then largely there for the ability to reduce damage onto Faker.
On is still sitting on the sidelines, looking for this flanking opportunity, but with Score going back to the fountain, going to be delayed that much further. SKT, a couple more shots. One more, there you go. That's going to be it. Smeb goes in, looking for the play. Big knockup coming through off the backside of the pulverize, bang in the back line. Does force out the Zhonya's from Pawn as he stays alive. Cataclysm thrown down by Blank, trying to cut off the rest of the members. And Bang finds the first kill, getting rid of Pawn, pops Score, back into the passive, and now is pushing forward, looking to heal up off of these Oozlings. Finds it as Untara, claims the life of Smeb. It's just Deft and Mana left alive, but they might not be lasting much longer. There you go. The Sivir all on her lonesome, but it doesn't even matter. There's nothing that Deft can do. SK Telecom in the semifinal. They're going on to play against Longzhu a week from today. It's the reverse sweep, bringing it back in. They win 3-2.
SK Telecom jump on the gyrocopter with Faker on Corki. 3 games, 3 victories. They will go to the grand final and face Longzhu Gaming in a week. And oh, did they make it hard for themselves. Dropping game 1, dropping game 2, getting KT Rolster fans uncomfortably excited, Achilles. But the excitement, as so often is the case, has turned upside down. The frowns are now going to be there. You can see KT heads in their hands. Mada was not able to carry them over the line on the Thresh this time. Everyone else has felt this pain before. KT Rolster came within a game of going to the grand final, of guaranteeing Worlds qualification today. They can at least rest easy, and then they are in a great spot to make it to Worlds. But I would have said the same thing a year ago, and they couldn't make it happen, Achilles, so that creeping doubt is going to be back for KT Rolster. But the SKT fans, the vocal majority, are celebrating on this day.
Absolutely. They do just that. They earn their ticket to Worlds. SK Telecom, everything just culminating here for them with this victory. Worlds, the grand final, the first team to ever go from the wild card all the way where Longzhu has been waiting them patiently. They come up with the victory. The entire org piles into the booth, and they are just absolutely ecstatic.
mental fortitude of SK Telecom can never be denied. If this was SKT 2-0 up, I think no one would have said reverse sweep from KT Rolster in 2017. But SKT, they stand strong. They make one change, bringing in Blank in the place of Peanut. He was able to play the tank junglers that Peanut's Maokai failed to achieve in the first couple of games. And KT were blown away in Game 3 and 4. They weren't competitive. Some of their victories in Game 1 and 2, you could say the same thing. Game 5 was more on the competitive side, but they'll have the one moment, the VOD will be frozen, when Score could have gotten out with a flash around the Drake. They didn't need to give up 4 kills and make the Xayah 3-0 with the Essence Reaver. There is the cheers, there is the salutes from SKT. Their fans are going to be ecstatic, but KT Rolster, will they ever be able to rid themselves of the tag of Almost Men? We don't have Rox Tigers of 2016 anymore, and sadly, it seems like KT first and maybe even Longzhu next week are going to be following the footsteps, because you can be good, you can beat KT in games, but actually beating them in series is such a different animal.
I mean, this is potentially the last chance that KT had to beat SK Telecom this year. Unless they go to Worlds, unless SKT loses to Longzhu in the World Qualifier, that could be it.
How many teams get to beat SKT and stick around to gloat, Achilles? Not many of those rosters are around anymore. Rox Tigers did it sometimes, but never when they wanted to. Never in LCK, never in the Worlds, of course, famously, that last big series as an org. SKT so often silence the haters, silence the questions. There's not going to be any questions left. I mean, the only question for SKT fans is going to be who's starting in the grand final, because I think Blank, with his big reintroduction after Peanut monopolized the jungle position in the final month, will be hard done by to not be starting in the final.
I mean, he put up one hell of a fight, bringing back SK Telecom into this series, giving them the reverse sweep. Didn't really have a poor performance in any of those games, and honestly might be earning himself the MVP here for game number 5.
KT made Faker mad. He jumped on the Corki 3 games and they had no answer. The Kassadin, the closest to an answer. The Talia, not even in his league when it came to performance, blew him away in game 4. See Mada on your screen, wistful, wrapping up his equipment while the elation is there for the side of SK Telecom. BDD may have had a great season. He may be the MVP alongside Kuro for the regular season, but it's postseason SK Telecom. They take on all comers. They have run the entire Gauntlet, the first organization to ever start in the Wildcard and make it to the grand final. And he's waving to an SKT faithful that know that SKT enter the grand final. Considerable favorites.
Well, we figured it out. It is going to be the SKT playoff buff, besting KT Summer buff. In the end, you can see Def doing his damnedest with that Sivir, tops the damage charts, but does not find the victory. Bang and Faker were both so very close behind. And the macro plays from SK Telecom were just beautiful to watch.
I mean, the drafting in the last 3 games was vintage SKT when they worked out the mid lane problem, because it was a mid lane problem. Pawn was having a career best performance against SKT on this KT roster. They realized, okay, well, the Corki is clean. With the way the bans are going, there's no obvious answer to it, and it gives us pressure. And it was the pressure from Faker that was so important in this series. Speaking of pressure, they spent the early game setting up around Blank, shutting down Zach's free farm. We did not have level 6 achieved. We saw the level 3 gank that would have worked if Zach was level 4. And a team effort shut down the Zach's farm. And I think that was so important. Blank ends the game with 100% kill participation.
He did. Just such great plays. I mean, we can't even put them all in here because, sure, this is him arriving, helping to get that first blood. But shutting down Score early on was really the genius of it all.
Putting down Score when he could have got out of that particular fight. They even had Deft and Mada roaming second from bot lane and did not communicate it fast enough to actually be able to head off what could have been just a single kill or no kills potentially, compared to how it was going to go for KT Rolster. Deft walks away, but knows that his demise is only moments away. And yeah, the Jarvan did the work this game. SK Telecom, bloody hell.
Not much else you could say. Just fantastic performance from SKT. You know, the one botch was really about the only blemish that they had here in this final game. And Tara, you know, kind of taking everybody on a bit of a trip. Faker getting the blue buff, and then allowing KT to get the Baron, but they fire back immediately, come up with these kills, and just like that, everything was reversed.
I wince in real life when I see the smart call to try to rush down the Xayah, and then the Blade Caller registering a stun against a Sivir. You need to be able to stop that from going through. Weren't able to do that. That was the first pick, and that was when KT had finally just found one way. They were inching back into a game that we thought would be the most standard of SKT closeouts like Game 4. After that, the one-way traffic for SK Telecom.
It was an absolutely insane telecom war, and I couldn't think of a better way for this to have transpired, Papa Smithy. We got the full 5 games. We got the reverse sweep. MVPs pretty much all around. I don't think we had a single double MVP for SK Telecom here today. But that is the end of the playoff run for KT Rolster. We'll be seeing them later on in the World Qualifier.
Maybe.
Probably.
Hey, if SKT win the final, we won't be seeing KT Rolster in the World's Qualifier.
That's true.
We'll wait and see on that one. That's still something
Fair.
to be written on another day.
All right, fair.